Hi again then guys, and welcome to another circuit tune for the 1.40 selection of 5 cars, this time for the Clio, the Renault Clio V6 in N200. Now, as I've said with a number of my street-going tunes, you can absolutely tune this to higher levels if you want to. This just gives you an idea of what the baseline can be, because I tend to tune up the car in the kind of category where I believe it will have the most use. So in the case of something like a hot hatch, N200 is kind of ideal, because above that you're starting to get into Porsche territory and you could struggle. Whereas N200, it's a pretty good little rivalry that you could have against Integras and old school muscle and stuff like that. Now, as it turns out, this one is actually a very good N200 car. Now, there's definitely some variation you could do with the tuning that you'll see in a second, because this one has fairly heavy steering, which is totally different to what the Clio usually has. It's pretty slippery. And that's the point. You can kind of reduce that if you want to, because some people even might find it a little bit too heavy through corners. But it's designed to be forgiving for beginners in particular. So again, you can adjust it as necessary. So we've dropped the weight as far as it can go, as you can see. We've got the power at 106%, which is the peak of N200. You don't need to upgrade the power to actually get it to 106%, as you can see. Traction control, we are running without, as usual. Sports tyres are the recommendation of the day. Of course, racing tyres are even quicker, but I've explained a number of times why you don't necessarily want to build a car just on racing tyres, especially a street car. For the brake balance, we haven't adjusted that. As far as suspension, we've dropped the ride height to 90mm. You could go all the way down to 85 if you want to, but there's a little bit of risk of bottoming out there on bouncy tracks. We've got 2.2 on the frequency, 7 on the anti-roll, 65 for the compression on the dampers, with 92 on the rebound. Half a degree of camber on the front, 1 degree on the back, and that is definitely where some variation can come in, because if you find that to be a little bit too heavy for you, then you could reduce the rear to say half a degree, and then have the front on 0. Give that a try if you find it too heavy. Might be more suited to you, for instance. Then we've got neutral toe, downforce is stock. As far as the diff, once again, this is designed to make it a little bit heavier through corners, more control, less slide. So again, you can adjust the initial torque, the acceleration and the braking as you see fit, but I've opted for halfway on that initial torque and the lowest on both the acceleration and the braking. Then finally for the transmission, once again it is N200 in this case, so of course if you tune up to N300 or higher, you will want to change the gears substantially, because otherwise you'll just hit the top speed way too quickly and top out. So you want the fully customized transmission. I would recommend an auto setting of 124 miles per hour. Then for the individual gears, I've got first gear all the way to the right, the highest ratio you can get there, and that's to improve the acceleration off the line, the launch in particular. Then as far as second, third, fourth and fifth, we've got those at more of like a visual placement rather than an exact number. So 2081 for second, 1570 for third, 1252 for fourth, 1032 for fifth, which is almost all the way to the left, and then for sixth, 0.875. This car is actually pretty quick in a straight line for an N200 vehicle. It kind of cancels out the issues that the Camaro tune had that I did. And then as far as the final drive, I've got 4.1. So as I said, if you do give it more power, like over 350 and higher, you'll definitely need to change those ratios, because the acceleration will be good, but you will hit your top speed way too quick. You'll hit the limiter way too quick and top out. So that's it for the tune. Now, of course, as we always do, let's put it out on the track to see exactly how this compares to my other N200 tunes. Now, as I said, the Camaro had some issues with top-end acceleration, as I said in that video, but apart from that, it's a very good car. This one, on the other hand, it's pretty much got it all. The handling is good, it's very compact, it certainly feels heavier than it is, and that's something that the Clio has always had as a characteristic. It does feel like quite a heavy car by hatchback standards. As far as its lap time though, this thing is good. As you can see, my first lap here was a 2-minute run. Then the next one, as you'll see toward the end of the video, was like a 1:59 point something. So it's quick for N200. Not the quickest thing out there, of course, but that's not that far behind the quickest ones I've done. The quickest car I've ever built in N200 is still the Porsche 356 Speedster. That's a 1.2 million credit car, and it's only about a second quicker than this. So it kind of speaks for itself. This is a really good car. It's quicker than the Integra, it's right behind the NSX Type R in N200, so This is good. It's a very, very good hot hatch to go for, and actually it's one of the quickest hot hatches in the game, if not the quickest, because the rear-wheel drive advantage makes a huge difference over the front-wheel drive options out there from like Volkswagen and Renault, because you can just put the power down out of corners much more efficiently without worrying about torque steer and wheel spin. So if you do decide to use this car and this tune on the car, you will win races, that's for sure. It's a very good base model to work with. This tune gives you even more of a head start on winning, and of course make some personal adjustments there if you feel necessary. But if you want to check out all of my other tunes, including ones like the NSX and the Porsche that I mentioned, then you can see those by clicking here on screen. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.